It is finally here. Across the Galaxy has arrived, but we can't help but turn to recent comments by Jeremy Zwirn, lead designer of Star Wars Destiny, regarding this set and the game.
We also talked with Steve Cameron from Cascade Games about the future of the Galactic Qualifiers.
This is episode 110 from the designer.
You have been well trained.
No. You don't have to carry a sword to be powerful.
I won't fail you.
Oh, do not.
I'm not afraid.
There is no try.
We're back for another week of the Chance Cube, where we sit and talk about Star Wars Destiny and other random things that Kim brings up along the way as I try to keep
what I
on
do.
Topic. We're also joined this week for at least for a little bit here with Steve Cameron from Cascade Games to talk a little bit about Galactic Qualifiers and Destiny and all that jazz. So welcome, Steve.
Hi, Steve.
Hey, thanks for having me on, guys.
We always like having you on, Steve. It's always a good time.
Right?
Good deal.
There's always a good time to have other people on here because me and Kim are tired of each other.
I didn't say that about you, but apparently now I know how you feel about me.
That is a lie. That is a lie.
You always get yourself in trouble like that. Always.
I know. I wouldn't keep doing this.
I'm texting your wife.
Oh, please don't. And Joe just popped in the chat to say hi and to blame me for something, which is probably true because
it's probably true.
He timed that well.
That was very well timed.
Man,
he's got you pegged,
story
man.
Of my life. Have you been following like Across the Galaxy stuff? Either one of you, like Across the Galaxy is exciting. We're happy for it. We're sad.
It is. I keep watching for draft. No draft in my area. Where's the draft? I want a draft.
I can't get qualifier and play draft.
I know, and I can't get out to Team Covenant's draft, even though, man, I really wanted to. Like, I was so wanting to, and then grown-up responsibilities happened and took all my money. So, that didn't happen. So,
sure.
I'm bummed. I wanted to go. It sounds so amazing.
All I know so far is that Vader is a beast, right?
Right? I'm scared of him.
It sounds like, it sounds like he's actually as good as he sounded. At least initially. I know every once in a while we get a character's like, oh, that's amazing, but they don't do good. And now it's like, oh, Vader. That Vader actually might be a thing. I don't know.
Oh, he's going to be mean. He's going to be so thematically mean.
Yeah. Now, I know before the show we were talking, Steve, you say you're not a huge Destiny player, but you play on occasion. Anything happens.
He's a busy fella, man. He's got
fella,
all these events to run.
But I mean, he says he gets to go to store champs and borrows decks from his friends. I want to hear that you won one, right? You want to see it?
No, because I don't play often enough. I can have a solid deck in my hands, but I still make some mistakes. The last store champ I went to, I borrowed a deck from one of my coworkers, Dave, who's our big Destiny player.
Yes.
He had won a store champ with that deck previously. And I got in, I lost one, I won one. I needed to win the last one to make the cut. And I just made a couple of play errors. Which was fine. I was just there to play and have a good time, stay semi-familiar with the game, so that I know what's going on. So, which is about all I have time for on any of these games, really. So,
I bet.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
You guys are a little bit of everywhere, but sounds like a fun gig.
Yeah, it's not too bad, right? Like, there are worse things than getting to travel all over the country, playing games and helping people play games and stuff like that.
Living my dream, Steve. Conventions are so much fun.
Right.
But
crazy. All right. Well, that being said, we might as well jump in to our news. Are you ready for news, Kim?
I am ready for some news. I bet Steve's got some news for us.
Steve's got some news, so we're going to kick it off.
I got a little bit of news.
Just us.
Let me take that back, huh? You'll find what you need.
All right, Steve. So, of course, you're here to give us and to give those who are watching and listeners an update on the Galactic Qualifier. Now, I know we've seen some stuff published about some updates that have come. I know you've been on some peer podcast recently as well. But feel free to spill the beans on Star Wars Destiny and Galactic Qualifiers and why we should go out yet again, aside from cool spot clause cards.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that we're rolling into a really great time for the game. Moving into PAX Unplugged and having this new set just drop, and have this kind of big event right after that to see how the meta shifts around the new cards is going to be really exciting. Some slight tweaks to the format, right? Rather than it being 6 rounds double elimination, we have removed the double elimination, which is really gonna. I think it's good for players. I think my least favorite part of Galactic Qualifiers last year was having people trudge up to the reg desk after round 2 and being like, "I lost 2, I'm out," and being like, "Yep. You are, here's a ticket." So that I just saw too many people with feel bads, and so we worked with Fantasy Flight, and
nice.
I'm like, let's get rid of this. It's not really necessary. It's not really adding anything other than that like fear of going 0-2, right?
Sure.
So we removed the double elimination, so if you want to go 0-6 now, you can, right? So
cool.
that is up to you. You can choose when you are done with the Galactic Qualifier, which I think is just better overall. So
I would agree. That's cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So there was also, right, it was tough to get critical mass going on the pods because if it was a smallish event, you'd have like 6 people eliminated, and then they'd have to wait for the 3rd round to be over until a couple more people got out, and then the pods could get rolling and stuff, right? And so I think now maybe the pods might get rolling a little bit later as people decide to play more or what have you, but it's just it's more flexible, and I think for the player it's just an overall better experience for you to decide when you're done in an event, rather than just be unceremoniously dumped out of the tournament after 2 rounds, because
That's
maybe
cool.
maybe you had a bad draw, maybe you had a couple bad draws, right? And so hopefully that improves the overall play experience for everybody.
So
That's awesome.
If you go in and you lose the first 3 games but win your last 3, you still get, say, prize tickets for 3 wins.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
kind of the idea. Okay. I think economically that feels better too. So I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the other major tweak, which is my news of the day. We have also worked. We were kicking this around for the last couple of weeks with Fantasy Flight, and so I know on my previous couple of times I was on with folks, I didn't have this info. So we have tinkered with the economy overall, how you get tickets, how much things on the prize wall are going to cost, and that type of thing. So I'll give you some insight. We'll have this published shortly, but I'll give you the rough overview. So moving to, rather than X wins get you X tickets, we're moving to a loss is 1 ticket and a win is 2 tickets. So even if you do want to stay in and go 0-6, you're going to get 6 tickets, right?
Wow.
So you have that opportunity. So that is the base structure for anything, the qualifiers, the pods, all that stuff. And then in the qualifier, if you hit 4, 5, or 6 wins, there are bonus tickets. So that kind of like the system last year ramped with wins, right? So you got like 1 and then 2 and then 4 and then 6, 8, whatever. So you've got some bonus tickets in when you hit those different win levels. So if you do go 0-2 and then you go 4-0, or you and you end up with a 4-2 record, you're still going to break that kind of bonus ticket barrier. So
cool.
It's about the same at the end. There's some slight increases. I think last year, a 6-0 got 16 tickets. And then this year, the 6-0 bonus is 8 tickets. So if you win your 6 games, 12 tickets plus a bonus 8 tickets, so 20 tickets. Nice. So we've kind of upped the ticket output in the GQ overall by beefing up those bonuses a little bit, and then adding the tickets in for losses as well. So more tickets in.
Nice.
And then on the pods, same thing, right? So your 1 ticket for a loss, 2 tickets for a win. So if you go 3, you're still getting 3 tickets instead of 1. And a bonus 2 tickets if you 3-0 the pod. So that's actually double tickets for the winner on pod. So it was 4 last year, and so now if you 3-0 your pod, you're 8 tickets. So more tickets in the mix overall.
Nice.
So and I think it makes the pods more meaningful, right? We not all the time, but sometimes we would find, right, like. So the great thing about this community is that they were all really great at kind of managing their own pods. You needed a judge every once in a while, but for the most part, people were able to, run their pods, pair themselves together using those sheets and everything. Occasionally, we would notice that, maybe a group of 8 had played 3 rounds in, 45 or 50 minutes, and that seemed a little aggressive. And it was a lot of like, yeah, we're done, and we did all these handshake games, and so can we have our tickets, please? Because everybody was just kind of grinding, so tickets, pods are not, an elaborate, complicated workaround to just buying tickets. So I think that just kind of, loosening the purse strings on tickets overall, hopefully will add some value back into the actual games on those pods, and people will not feel so frantic as like, I've got to get through this many pods so I can get these tickets, right, to, now you can win 2 pods and get a spot gloss instead of having to win 3 pods and get a spot gloss, right?
That's awesome.
So that I think is a big shift. Their prizes, people want to get them. Some people might say, oh, it was great that they were really rare, but at the same time, some of them were just too rare, and people were having to hustle. If people wanted to collect everything, obviously the cards that were very playable were very popular, and everybody got those. And we had a lot of stuff that just never got taken, and except for, what I didn't see was the collector really very often. They're like, well, I can only get 1, and I need to have a Yoda. And so that's what I'm getting, but Mace Windu is my favorite character, and so I would like to have him, but I don't have the time to, spend like grinding out another 3 pods and to try and get that card. So hopefully this will help those folks that want to collect stuff, because they're gonna get a little bit easier to get, right? Along with that, some slight tweaks in the pricing as well. We're going to start dividing it out a little bit by block. So if you have spot glosses and battlefields that are in the Awakenings block, those are going to be a little bit cheaper. The stuff from Legacies, so the baseline for new stuff is dropped a little bit, so 10 instead of 12 for a spot gloss. And that PAX Unplugged, that will apply to we're supposed to have new cards from Way of the Force and Across the Galaxy, so that'll be the price point on those. And then the Legacies cards will be a little bit cheaper, probably going to be like 8 for a spot gloss from the Legacies stuff that we had last year. And then the Awakenings, anything from the Awakenings block will be a little bit cheaper as well. So you'll kind of see this range of pricing based on based on the block. We can't it's not our role to control the secondary market. So it's not like Yodas are going to be 20 tickets, right?
Right.
Because it's, our role is to provide the stuff, and then the secondary market can do whatever it wants, right?
Sure.
So,
And it will, yeah.
And so we have a baseline, and I think that basing them on the playability in terms of the formats that are available is the thing that kind of makes sense there. So, and it'll allow those folks that didn't pick up their, CN array or whatever to be able to just kind of snap those up and get a collection if that's what they're looking to do. So, I think the tweaks in few more tickets in the mix and slightly different pricing, mats. So if you want a mat won't be double the cost of a spot gloss. It'll be in line with what a mat should be. So you can have your choice of grabbing a mat because it may actually make sense now to take a mat because you want it instead of having to be like, why would I take a $20 mat when I can spend half as many tickets on a card that's worth $100, right? So yeah. So
well, that's exciting.
I think it's a good move for the prize wall in general.
Yeah.
We'll still have last year's stuff available. That stuff will be available in limited quantities. I have some left over from last year, and when they're gone, they'll be gone. My hot tip would be, grab an Obi-Wan because there's not very many left.
Wow, that's exciting.
Nice.
So it sounds like
I like
that. The economy all throughout has made an overall just better experience for the players, and
I hope that's the goal.
Yeah. So I know, and the Galactic Qualifier, one of the many reasons people go out, especially to the GQ itself, is to win those seats at Worlds. And if I remember reading correctly, it's whoever finishes first in the Swiss rounds will get that seat.
Yeah. So the 6-0 mark is still kind of that mark. You need to be undefeated. That may change a little bit, right? And it's going to be something that may change if we have a very small field. Some of the events ended up with pretty small fields, and the other part of the double elimination thing was that the pool of players kept getting smaller, and so when you got to the end, we had a couple of situations where it's like, well, there's no one else to play, and because we're just repairing the people that are still in the event.
Wow.
And it may happen that we get to, if we do end up with a small field, that we may get to a spot where it's round 5, there's one undefeated player, and so there may be some changes along that line, but that's not a definite as of yet. The other thing that has happened is that there were a lot of Galactic Qualifiers last year, kind of smashed into a small time period, and now you're looking really at one a month. And so I think that it ends up being roughly the same amount of events, but spread over a longer period of time. And I think that hopefully that will help kind of create a bigger buzz around those specific events, and hopefully not run us into these problems where we had these real small fields sometimes last year.
Gotcha. I was actually interested in the now that you've got this economy in place, and once that word gets out, wondering if your field increases dramatically and you have you're still going to cap these events so it's only possible for one 6-0, or do you think you'll?
No. I mean, if it's 6 rounds, right? I mean, if there's 200 people there, then we're going to end up with 2 or 3 6-0s. So
very cool. That's exciting.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
The collector in me is very happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it just makes it feel like that you got something for the time that you put into it, even if you had a bad day.
Yeah, exactly. So
that's really great. I really like that.
At the core of all of it, right? These are games, and yeah, they're competitive, but you should also be having some fun while you're there. So,
right.
And getting cool stuff is fun. So let's give out more cool stuff.
That's awesome. Very exciting, man.
Very cool. Well, Steve, thanks so much for sharing all that info. We're excited to hear more about how successful those are this coming year, and hopefully, we'll see a lot of new players out there too, with the allure of the maybe slightly easier to obtain cards. I mean, it sounds like I could go 0-6 and maybe get an Awakening Spot Clause if I was really lucky, if there's still any left.
Yeah. And I think the other thing is, the other big thing to mention is the shift from, far fewer of these in conventions, and many more standalone events. So,
neat.
Standalone event, no badge required. I did the math, and last year,
cool.
We ran so many of these inside conventions. A lot of it had to do with getting eyes on the games and wanting to be in a big spot where we could hopefully attract lots of new players. But all of the communities were and to varying degrees were like, hey, this is great, but I have to buy all these badges, and I went back through and did the math, and it was in excess of $1,000 in convention badges, and that was another great way to produce some feel bads. All of these, the majority of these events now are outside of conventions. We're starting at PAX Unplugged because PAX Unplugged is a gaming convention, and it's just a great place to roll things out. It's one of my favorite shows that we go to because, I prefer the pure gaming shows myself. So, it makes sense. It's a good kickoff for the seasons, I think. So there's that badge. There's two smaller, regional conventions, Adepticon, which was actually the absolute biggest field we had last year, was at Adepticon. And then Evergreen Tabletop Expo in Seattle. Those are $25 and $30 badges, not $65, $75 badges.
Right.
And then, of course, there's Gen Con, but, that's Gen Con, so that's the way.
Yeah, it's in a class all of its own, that's for sure.
Yeah, right. But now you're looking at, maybe $200 in badges instead of $1,000.
Yeah, exactly.
I think
that's awesome.
I think that is better for players as well.
I totally agree, yep. Well, and it gets a little more attention at those, like those conventions. And even in a place like Gen Con or even Origins, it's hard to dedicate a day, depending upon what kind of gamer you are. It can be hard to dedicate days worth of a convention to playing Destiny too, so it balances that out for some players.
Yeah, exactly.
Very cool.
That's cool.
Well, Steve, thanks so much for joining us and telling us all about everything going on with the GQs. If any of our listeners or viewers want to find out more information about what you guys have coming up, what's the best way for them to do that?
Certainly, check our website, cascadegames.com. From there, you can see our schedule of every place we will be, the event schedules for those events, if there is pre-registration available. That stuff is online. We have pre-reg online right now for PAX Unplugged, the Phoenix standalone event, the Atlanta standalone event, and the Denver standalone event. So you can secure your spots in those right now if you want.
Nice.
And also check Facebook. There should be a Facebook event for each of those things. If you have event-specific questions, hit that event's Facebook page. That way, I can answer. I can know where the questions are coming from regionally, right? And figure out, because each one will have its own details. So that is the best way to ask questions about those events. And if you're interested in helping out, maybe you don't feel like playing. We are always looking for staff at those things. So also on our website, you can sign up for our staffing portal. apply to work at any of the events you want. There's some knowledge tests on a bunch of the different games.
Nice.
Some of them are a little bit out of date and they're being updated. So, our Destiny test doesn't, I think it may have been made during Legacies, but certainly doesn't have any across the galaxy or Way of the Force questions in it. But those things are all getting updated. So
cool.
But yeah, that is pretty much the best way to keep track of us: website and Facebook.
Awesome. And Steve, I just want to say, like, I've been to some of the events that you guys run, and you guys do an outstanding job with what you do. So thank you for all you guys do for the community and getting these events out there and running them so smoothly. I always hear good things about it.
Thank you very much. It's, again, right, like that's the goal. That's our job, is to make them happen and make them happen fun and make them happen efficiently. So.
And if you guys play stuff other than Destiny, I know that's very faux pas, but they run great events for a lot of other wonderful, awesome card games. So if you play any of those too, make sure you check out their website.
Absolutely.
For sure. So we're going to cut to our word from our sponsor, and then we'll be back with our discussion for the week.
You know, Mike, I just can't seem to get the cards I need in the booster packs I bought. I'm still missing a Mother Talzin, a Darth Maul, and I need some more battle droids. That 5-wide droid deck isn't going to build itself, and I have all these extra Yodas.
Seriously, Kim, I told you, check out Armada Games. You can buy and sell Destiny cards on their website, shoparmada.com. It's just a few simple clicks and bam, you are done. I used it just the other day, and now I got two Maul Sabers heading my way.
Hey, what are you guys talking about? We're in the middle of a break here.
Jason, you know how you've got all those extra cards from all those booster boxes you open? Mike says you can sell them online super easy.
No way, seriously? How? I've got to make room before this next set comes out.
Jason, whether you're new to the game or a seasoned vet, Armada Games has just what you're looking for. You can buy and sell your Destiny singles all from the comfort of your living room. Pre-order the latest sets of boosters and find the droids you are looking for. You can also check out their selection of Destiny accessories. And you'll get free shipping on orders over $75. For an even better deal, be sure to use the coupon code TheChanceCube and receive 5% off your Destiny purchase. Visit their website at shoparmada.com. Armada Games. Get in here and game.
But you know what I always say, speak softly and drive a big tank.
We are back, and I feel like I have learned so much good stuff that I want to go to a
I
Galactic Qualifier.
really like those updates. Like,
Yeah.
I think it makes it worth so much more as a casual player trying to go and get that kind of, like, to just play in pods or whatever. And, like, if I go to one of those, I'm pretty sure I'm not gonna go 6-0 that day. Like, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
But then I don't feel like it's like, hey, I'm still gonna get tickets. Hey, I can still get some of this cool stuff off the prize wall. And that's nice. Like, and it's, I think they had a nice time to look at them, evaluate them, and it's cool that Cascade and FFG will work so well together to improve upon that. Like, that's refreshing.
Yeah, no, totally agree. And it's just the right move. And obviously, with every time you do something the first time, there's always growing pains. It just seems like,
Absolutely.
it took a year of Galactic Qualifiers to be like, hey, this is, this may be not the best way. I mean, I remember I went to a convention for the sole purpose of a Galactic Qualifier. I had to buy a convention badge.
A lot of people did. A lot of people did.
I went 0-2 on the Trilogy Day. That didn't feel good. In fact, it felt so bad I don't think I played at all. I didn't play any pods that day. And then coming away after spending an entire weekend with just 3 spot glosses, I mean, granted, there's some good value in those, but now I feel like if you want to be a collector of spot glosses, it's much more obtainable.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. Very cool. So we're gonna just jump into our discussion for the week. We know there's a lot of across the galaxy excitement out there. We're gonna kind of let the meta continue to find its way. I know a lot of our competitive group is doing a lot of play testing out over on the things that we don't talk a lot about. But I know Matt Kuzno and the Canto Bite team has been actively play testing the new set and
very cool,
playing their decks and preparing for the new thing. But something happened a couple weeks ago before the set came out that I just couldn't let go. Jeremy Zwirn.
Oh yeah.
He actually lended his voice, or at least he's credited with a couple of different articles that Fantasy Flight put out, and I thought it was worth taking some time to talk about them a little bit.
Yeah.
Especially some of the things that he mentioned that seemed like a long time coming. And I think the first thing that we want to discuss, he was asked, are there any cards that are either overperforming or underperforming based on your expectations? And when we saw him at Nova, we had a little Snoke conversation with him. Me and Ruben and Sarah did. And, he came out and said in this article, Snoke is a card that is performing well over and above what they play tested and expected it to do. To the point of, at least in the U.S. Nationals meta, like, if you didn't have Snoke on your villain team, then what were you doing?
Right.
But it's interesting
and they didn't see that coming, right? Yeah. Like, that was one of the things he mentioned. Like, everybody went, oh, everybody likes Snoke. Huh.
I want to say that even when the game was being play tested, there was some discussion on making him more powerful than like the version we have is not necessarily the version that went out there. The version we have may be a smidge more powerful than the version that was early tested.
Crazy.
I know I'm not a play tester, so I can't speak to that. I'm just interpolating what I've heard, what I think he said to me. So don't take that as fact. That is all. That is
our speculation.
That is speculation based on hearsay and poppycock. But I mean, it's exciting. It's kind of exciting to hear him say that, and he hasn't. They didn't say. He said many previous support characters have been underwhelming, and we'd like to make them more appealing going forward. With Snoke being an example of that. So Snoke was a very appealing support character, a character who's low in point value, who doesn't really do the damage himself,
right?
But has an ability or some sort of function. Yoda is another one of them. These characters that themselves can't win a game, but in combination with a strategy, tend to win. He didn't come out and say that something's going to happen to Snoke. I know there's still a lot of call for a nerf, and I'm not sure if you're as surprised as I am that we haven't seen any sort of rules update yet.
I am surprised. Like, I don't know if they're going to wait till maybe after some of this starts to see play, but I feel like maybe there's one coming. We've been wrong about that before, and maybe they'll wait another. I don't know.
I mean, I feel like at least you have to. I mean, you have to have a mods discussion.
Yeah, there's something about that. I think you need to clarify. The mods probably most specifically, and maybe even some of those the plots and that kind of stuff, because they certainly got a bit more robust this set.
Yeah, for sure. He didn't come out and say they're going to do anything with Snoke. I'd be surprised if they didn't, because I know he's still going to be a key player in this next set. However, one of his articles did have wasn't it Vader and Snoke? His Solidarity article had Vader and Snoke.
Oh yes, and because it's with that -1. It's with one of the -1 plot cards. You can play Elite Snoke and regular new Vader, and that's painful.
That sounds horrible.
I was like, I don't even think about it. Like, I just was reading that again today, and I was like, oh boy.
Yeah.
But yeah, the math totally works. It's 31, so you throw that -1 plot card in there.
And Dejix225 in the chat is also saying that it feels like you have to nurse Snoke. Given the way they've balanced before, like Ayla was balanced a point up, and that was just because there was no hero deck that didn't have Ayla going into Worlds.
Yeah,
I don't think she was overpowered, but
no, I don't think she was either. And then I don't know. I felt like in one of the articles he hinted that they would adjust Palpatine as well, because Palpatine, they adjusted him prior to releasing him, and it almost knocked him out of play. So I wonder if they'll lower that back down because he wasn't seen. And this is the Legacy's Palpatine I'm talking about.
I mean, he just that was right after him talking about Snoke. Palpatine,
and that was the opposite. Yeah.
He has a strong power action that allows you to play events at a decreased cost, potentially saving you up to 3 resources every round. His power action and low health made him a big target. And
but his health is 12.
Games. Maybe
like
12
I feel like that's not low.
for a 1620 character, 12. I mean, Jeremy may have new standards than
I guess so. He knows about other higher cost or higher health.
Yeah,
characters
I don't know
with higher health than what we do.
How you balance
because
that.
I was like, when you say low health, I'm thinking 10 or under.
You're right.
When you say 12, I'm like, that's pretty good compared to, that's pretty, a higher average.
Yeah.
I was like, when did we get to saying a 12 health character was low health? Like, did I miss that? I felt like I missed that.
I think it's interesting to see, like, the head designer say, this character should have gotten played more because he's really cool. Like, I mean, it kind of makes you want to look at that character again and try to figure out, like, did we miss something or,
But that's so interesting where it's different people's take on the game, though. And so Palpatine just didn't, it's all in how the meta plays out. So I'm sure he's valuable, but the meta just didn't see it that way. Now, maybe, now that he's drawn attention to it, somebody's going to go back and take a look at him.
Yeah.
And it is a nice, like, that power action is nice. Like, you're playing things for, up to 3 less resources. That's big, especially on some of those big costed cards we're seeing come out in this next set and in some previous sets. I mean, that's a rise again for 2.
That is a good point. If you look at Palpatine in a mixed damage deck, and then now every turn you've got the ability to play one of your was an event or any card. I think it's an event, right?
I think it was an event.
At a decreased cost, like it makes those higher.
Makes them much more tangible.
And
yeah,
some of those newer events that came out too, the newer blue ones that are.
Yeah.
So, maybe we should stop looking at Snoke, who's like generating resources, and look at someone like Palpatine, who, reduces
who's
the
saving
cost of
money.
cards. Right? It's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It's not we don't see that play often in this game, but it is prevalent in so many other card games, right? Decreasing the cost of cards you're playing.
I mean, and he gave a good explanation as to why they upped his cost, because it seemed like some of the pairings that he was capable with were going to be overpowered, and we won't know. I mean,
we'll never know. Well, I mean, you can solidarity. No,
but some of these are
negative plot.
But some of them are the only one. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. The only one I'm looking at that is still really viable would be Elite Greedo, because well, I guess right, yeah. Because Balatique and Seven Sister will be not around for very long, right?
Right, yeah. Greedo is the only one that'll rotate out, or that'll stay past rotation.
So maybe we'll see that once. Maybe we'll have to see something by rotation, right? They're going to have to define some of that.
Mm-hmm. Crazy. He also was asked, and I'm actually, as much kind of as much flack as we give them sometimes for their PR and the things they put out. I'm impressed that they come out with these kind of rather transparent questions. What is one of the biggest challenges the game is currently facing? And Jeremy's like, yeah, blue's too strong.
I have a different answer to that question that I shall keep to myself.
Well, yeah, whatever.
Well, it is, but like blue is very, and some of that is they've made great cards. On top of people really enjoy playing, like from a thematic standpoint, enjoy playing blue. Mm-hmm. And you'll never get rid of that thematic element. You're not going to. People are going to always enjoy that. But they continue. If you want to stop making such powerful cards for it, that's how you fix that. But I mean, because look what all just rolled out for blue this last time. Blue
is
certainly
too powerful.
The biggest
Here
blue.
is Vader.
Here's some more. Whoops. All in good fun.
Yeah,
Jeremy. All in good fun.
There's obviously a theme to each color, right? To a certain extent, like there's certain types of weapons and certain types of play style that affect each color. And it's interesting to see, blue tends to have the most control over your own dice and have the most focused sides and still gets a lot of power out of the lightsabers. Now
it's called the Force, Jason. That's why.
Well, I mean, the Force binds all things.
I don't know, but I mean it does. But I think that thematically, I get it. I mean, it's people are always going to want to play blue,
right? I mean,
regardless,
blue has won in whole or in part, worlds the last 2 times. and I would not be surprised if it does it again. Blue is always seems to always be a part of major decks.
Yep.
Especially in the meta. So we'll see.
And I don't know if I feel like that's a bad thing. I don't know. Maybe other players would say that it is. Mill players would probably tell me that it is. All like 3 of you. So, I don't know. Like, I don't think people are that generally. Well, I don't hear a big cry from the community, but
to make blue not separate. Well, I mean,
I like red and yellow, but I also know that it's not necessarily the most powerful when you're looking at it from I don't expect it to be, I guess. I didn't go into it with expecting red and yellow to be the most powerful.
Right.
Maybe that's, I don't
know. That is true. No one is crying for an adjustment to make blue less powerful. Unless, that does mean a good portion of your collection is not being used a lot of times. But, I mean, blue's been successful with both yellow and red. So it's not like the other colors are being ignored. It's just, you tend to always gravitate towards blue in your pairings.
And maybe that's more of a way to not balance the game, but maybe the pace of the game. Maybe balance the pace of the game. Is blue seems to, with that control, seems to keep it at a good pace. Right. When we had very prevalent yellow decks, things sped up a lot. I don't know. I will say, like, honestly, this set, I didn't feel like it gave... Mill was finally starting to come into his own last set, and I didn't feel like it got no help this time.
We got a little help, but not in large swaths of cards. I think last set had, like, ton of cards that did it. There's a couple in here that are kind of scary, but...
I think it'll take a while for it to build itself back up.
Totally agree.
And that's unfortunate. I mean, I was okay with... I joke about Mill a lot, but I like it better when it's a healthy...
I'm telling Ruben.
I like it better when it's a healthy for any type of player.
Sure.
Which kind of leads me to what the next question that he was asked, talking about any type of player.
Oh, if you could do one thing to improve the game experience, yeah.
This was my favorite answer, honestly.
Yeah, no, I think this is the one that deserves kind of the biggest applause, and things we've been talking about. And I think it's just a matter of, FFG doesn't work as fast as I think we'd all like for them to. But who can really? So when asked, what if you could do one thing to improve the game experience, what would it be? I'd like to improve the game experience by offering less competitive-minded players more ways to play Star Wars Destiny. Creating a new format for the game is one way to strengthen this experience. Exploring the novelties and subtleties of a unique format can be a very enjoyable process for players. Many players also really appreciate the social aspect of gaming with friends, and I'd like to implement another multiplayer mode, such as team player or one versus many, in addition to the official free-for-all mode. And I think when this article came out, some people didn't even realize it was a free-for-all mode. It's like
right, because it still hasn't been widely... Right, I feel like it hasn't been widely talked about or implemented, maybe is another good word for it.
Yeah.
But we've had conversation with Jeremy, and I appreciate that he thinks of the player experience across the board, just not from a competitive standpoint.
And I think,
and I feel like
there's been a call for team play, and there's been a call for... I haven't heard anybody say one versus many, but that's kind of an interesting idea. I know, Nova has tried... they tried a 3-on-3 format a couple of years back, similar to kind of a commander style.
I feel like the format they had this year, this year seemed to have a lot of good buzz around it.
Yeah, the non-unique character kind of restricting deck building rules, but doing sort of a free for all around it. Worlds always has an official free for all tournament, which maybe as much as we want to appeal to the casual player, I think if there's not some sort of organized play rules surrounding it, it's hard for local plays to implement. Like, I'm totally cool if someone says we're going to play multiplayer, that's great. But am I going to take the time to build a deck that's going to be decent in multiplayer if I'm just going down the street to play randomly?
Yep. And it's hard because... Yeah, it is. And it's hard because now we're looking at regional seasons. So a lot of the players that are coming to your local Wednesday night want to practice for regionals. They don't want to play in a free-for-all.
Right. So
and so it becomes...
if there's not... I mean, I think something like a free-for-all or something like, just like draft, those kinds of random formats can turn the tide. I think a 2-on-2 where you pair, like, experienced players versus inexperienced players, or, like, one on each on a team, would be really interesting. It'd be a great way to teach the game in a way. I don't know. I like where he's going with it. I hope that he gets there.
So at least they're thinking about it. Like at least they're thinking about it.
Yeah.
So I was happy to read that.
Yeah, I was too. And I think, Jeremy's been so good for the game. And it's going in such a good place from a design standpoint. And we know there's a lot that goes into getting a game like this out there advertised and supported from an OP standpoint, and a lot of our peer content creators, I think, have stepped up in their local areas. It seems like to really start driving attendance, and we're seeing more and more new players kind of jump in on the big Facebook groups, which is really nice to see.
Yeah.
So hopefully there are new players who listen here, and
welcome.
Shout out to the new people.
If you need some original stuff, I've got a bunch piling up.
So I like where things are going.
Yep, I totally agree.
And hopefully hear more from Jeremy.
I like these articles. I like it anytime that they do something like this. But hearing from Jeremy, I think the community listens a little. They perk their ears up just a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah. So hopefully we'll see some results from this. So, and I know the other interesting thing, he lent his voice to the Solidarity article, which had a deck list that was interesting with Snoke and Vader, and how to build around the plot Solidarity, which is the one that it allows you to play up to 31 points, but you have to be monocolor and then no duplicates in your deck,
which I think is really cool.
I mean, that is a cool thing. The article started with a history of plots, which I thought was interesting that we're already at this point of the history of plots. I was intrigued that he said, what did he say though? I was like, the development team had many different ideas as to what we could do with the extra points in a character team. So next time we get a chance to ask him a question, I want to know what the other ideas were.
Yeah.
What other ideas?
If you could share any of those, what else were you gonna do? And maybe they won't tell us because maybe they're gonna come out later. But I do like how they sort of spoon-fed this, though. That they introduced the idea to where it's not super overwhelming, and so you can get used to them as a thing, and then make them a little more interesting, and then a little more interesting, and then bring out a couple that's worth actually building your deck around.
So there we have it. It's like I said, nice to hear from Jeremy in these articles. I don't really have much more to say except it's exciting.
I feel like I would, and we talked earlier of the power of blue, and that's kind of what he mentions in this article, is that Solidarity there's enough good blue cards that you can use that and build a decent deck, because there's enough cards that maybe don't. If I can't include two of it, he mentioned several opportunities. Well, here's a card that does almost the same thing. Right. And it's to really get those underplayed cards out there. So I hope to see some events or something around that, to where, you could make a whole format that's like Solidarity. Yeah. You really could, to where it's a one of include. I think that's pretty cool. I like that. I like the idea of it.
You could totally theme league nights around certain plots. You can even do a pod racing night.
I'd love to see it be super competitive, and I don't know if it will. If it is, it's going to be a blue deck. Yeah, to build a deck like that. If it is, it's going to be blue.
I think it will be. I think it's possible now, but once rotation happens, I think it'll take it a couple more sets before it's good again.
To get the card pool high enough. Yep, that makes sense. But they're great reads. If you haven't seen them yet, we've shared both of them out on our page. I think the community as a whole has had a good opportunity to digest them at this point.
For sure. So as we always do, to tie into the discussion question this week, we went out and went to the Facebook world and asked a similar question of you.
There can be no mistakes this time.
So, like us, Just Huge was interested in the multiplayer modes. And I think, at least I hope, and maybe some of the other scuttlebutt I heard out on the internet was everybody being as kind of excited as we were with talking about this multiplayer possibility and just some other more casual ways for... They don't have to be cutthroat competitive all the time, but other fun ways to enjoy Destiny. So, Joe's agrees with us that multiplayer mode sounds intriguing. And then as well as a singleton format like Magic has with Commander. I know we talk about it a lot, but Magic's been around for a really long time.
Yeah.
And they do really well with their formats, and I think that it doesn't hurt to take a look at what they offer to their players and trying to provide something similar, because clearly it's working.
Yeah. Well,
I mean my game shop is filled every day of the week.
If you look at the big three, right? The big three collectible card games, you know, anybody who can kind of successfully emulate what Magic is able to do is successful. I mean, Magic's got a ranking system. You know, they've got multiple events with tons of support. They've got 2, 3, 4 formats that are highly competitive and team play. Granted, that's 25 years of you know, history,
trial and error, but
to get there.
And it had a lull. I mean, it did.
Mm-hmm.
Like, most of the people my age played it in high school and younger. And then we all got grown up and thought, we're not going to do that stuff anymore. And then sold all the really good cards that now fetch $300 for a dual land. And now we go, oh, maybe we should do that again. Well, I can't afford those cards anymore. I'm so glad I sold those.
Yeah.
Or my mom threw them out. I've heard so many interesting stories of what happened to people's Magic cards. But now it's a friend of mine plays with his. I mean, it's now people might get back into it. So, and it's still there for them to do, which I hope that's an offering that we have with Destiny, is that we can play it for now. And even if we do walk, you know, even if somebody does leave for a little bit, hey, I can come back to that game.
Yeah. Well, rotation is what helps that, right? It'll be interesting to see if, you know, will cards hold their value after rotation? I mean, you know, in Magic they go crazy, and especially the, you know, really old ones. But there's such a big collector base there. So I think this game is harder to collect with the dice and everything.
I would totally agree with that.
But I mean, I think, you know, and Magic's done this really well. And you know, now we have a game like Hearthstone, which has, you know, tons and tons of followers, but it's digital only.
Which is an interesting concept. And then you're introducing something like Keyforge.
Right.
Who has some really funny named decks that I'm starting to see on the internet. Yeah, there's a couple words they should have kept out of that. I didn't get that deep into that, but whoo, boy. They didn't think that through all the way. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of competition in this. You have to keep it fresh, you have to keep it interesting, and you have to keep it consistent.
And accessible.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like they kind of releasing Keyforge on top of having something like this, you're competing with yourself at a very different price point, and I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, the King Raka in the chat asked about the pre-release kit for Across the Galaxy, and I don't think there was one. I think they just...
My store didn't have anything, and I don't know if that's because my community's gotten small, or if they didn't have anything available.
I think to everybody's point, they sold themselves too thin for this time of year. They just had Worlds for their non-Star Wars games. You know, they Keyforge release, and they're doing a lot of PR around Keyforge. They think it's their next gold mine.
Yep.
And
they took Keyforge to Essen and not Star Wars Destiny, which...
And you know what they did today? They released an article with the word Destiny in it, and it was about Lord of the Rings. And I was angry. I was like, title your articles with appropriate words, please.
Oh, they're like somebody in the back room just getting them all thrown together.
It was like Finding Your Destiny or something. I'm like, oh, thank goodness.
You're like,
no, not even our game.
I didn't see that one yet, and I was even lurking a little bit today.
I was angry when I saw that notification, but that's okay. Anyways, so that's you know. Anyways, I think they're doing a great job with getting Jeremy to speak more. And
he's a quiet fella, but he's got a lot of great things to say when you, and I say it all the time, people are like, I don't know if I should go. He's a quiet guy, but he will talk to you about the game if you approach him.
Not
and
quiet when we get him on the show, right?
He's super great to talk to. He's very nice.
Yeah. Now,
don't go be a jerk about it, but I mean, he'll talk about it. If you have thoughts on the game, if you have, like we talked to him about the 2-player set when that first came out and had questions, and he provided feedback, and he'll listen to your feedback. It's just go about it appropriately, but he's a great guy to talk to. He's very tall, and I'm very short, so I have to look up really high when I talk to him. But he's really cool.
So that will wrap it up for another week here at the Chance Cube, episode 110. We've been doing this for a long time, and hope to continue to do it much longer. Get out there, play some Across the Galaxy. We're going to take a week off next week for Thanksgiving. I'll be traveling, and Kim needs a break because she holds this place together. And
I don't know about that.
Oh,
thanks, buddy.
Check out the price. Go ahead.
Yeah, check out the price watch for some new Across the Galaxy prices.
Yep. Flipside Gaming will be added.
That's gonna settle. Keep in mind, that's just like with every new set that comes out, those prices are gonna fluctuate a lot in the first few weeks.
You know what they're all sold out of, except for one store?
What?
Darth Vader? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Yeah. And also, just a kindly, friendly reminder that we just collect prices off the internet and make an average. We don't set a price. We don't we're just doing simple average math, guys.
We are collating data. That's all we do.
We're just doing the law of averages. So I know you have lots of recommendations, and we appreciate that. But at the end of the day, we're really just looking at these retailers and giving you an average.
Yep, just a quick one-stop shop for
go easy on us. Go easy on us a little. It's just math, man. It's just math.
So head over to our Facebook page. We've got another question that we will discuss in 2 weeks from now on episode 111. I know. Yes, I did. Now that you've gotten some Across the Galaxy games in, which characters are stronger than expected and which are not so much?
That'll be interesting. I'll be interested to hear that.
Will be interesting to talk about it too. Guess we'll have to figure it out between now and then.
Everyone have a wonderful Thanksgiving if you're a person who celebrates that holiday, and if not, have a nice week.
Yeah,
we'll miss chatting with you, but we'll see you again on the flip side.
Yep. Have a good couple of weeks, guys. See you in December. No, not yet.
Not quite.
Early this year.
It is. It's super freaky because the month started on a Thursday.
Weird.
Super freaky. It's okay. Have a good turkey.
Bye, guys.
This has been The Chance Cube, a Star Wars Destiny podcast, a non-profit organization dedicated to building community through gaming. Visit our website for all things Star Wars Destiny, including our price watch, meta tracker, and latest articles from the Chance Cube family. Find our latest videos on YouTube, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and visit us at patreon.com/thechancecube. Your patronage allows us to grow this program and help us give back to the gaming community by sponsoring events, giveaways, and supporting our own community building initiatives. This is Mike Hill, the voice of the Chance Cube. Thanks for listening. The Chance Cube is not affiliated with Fantasy Flight Games, Lucasfilms, or the Walt Disney Company.